he fucked Gumong 7 ways to Sunday. Like,
what's up, guys? It's Kictor. I'm here with my beautiful girlfriend Stitch for another Danmei book club of Yuwu 3, Remnants of Filth. Have we gotten to the filth yet?
I think we've been in the filth this whole time, for sure.
Okay.
But it gets worse, unfortunately.
Stitch has prepared another magnificent PowerPoint for us to go through. Yuwu, what's this? Never gets old. Volume 3, Electric Boogaloo.
Yes, I didn't know it was supposed to rhyme. I just like the word boogaloo. Anyways.
Okay, here we go.
Let's get right into it. We're starting off strong, the beginning of the volume, with
9,000 plus warrior graves, and Gumong kneeling at every single one of them.
Except instead of smiling, he's crying, so it's fine.
Oh.
So, where we start off this volume
Uh-huh.
is Moshi and Gumong are standing in front of Mushi's father's grave. What we know about his father is that he was betrayed by his right-hand man, which led to his death and the death of his army. So that intense betrayal formed Moshi's whole early childhood development and made him especially prone to the agony of betrayal that he later suffered with Gumong stabbing him.
Right.
So there's kind of this reoccurring theme of just how painful betrayal is and how much it's taken away from Moshi's life. So they're standing in front of this grave, and Gumong, who has started to have some of his memories returned to him at this point, is still very naive and innocent and not really connected with his former self. Still pretty dog-like, but a little more human now, but still very much not who he used to be. And he decides, upon seeing Moshi's father's grave and connecting with Moshi on this empathetic level, seeing how much his father's death hurt him, and understanding what it really means to be a traitor.
Yeah.
He tells Moshi, I want to turn over a new leaf. I want to be a better person. Even though he's not his former self, he's almost not even the same person, truly, because he doesn't have those memories. He still feels responsible for, that betrayal that he did commit to the nation and to Moshi in particular. And he's telling him that he wants to change and he wants to live a better life.
So he's like, damn, man, looking at this grave of your father who was betrayed made me realize just how shitty betraying you was.
Don't really remember it personally, but I can see that you have a deep sadness inside of you.
Let's just start over.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
And Moshi, of course, responds with, that's not going to change anything. First of all, we're only keeping you alive so that we can kind of do dark magic experiments. I mean, you've had the dark magic in you. We're going to experiment on you to uncover the enemy nation's secrets. We're just keeping you alive for that.
But also Moshi is in love with him.
Yes. What he says to Gumong is, it won't change anything. Even if you apologize now or try to make amends, you're going to be executed at some point.
Yeah.
That's not going to change. There's no point in anything you do now. So he's trying to discourage him, I think because he sees how futile the future is for Gumong. But Gumong shows a little bit of his old tenacity and isn't discouraged by this at all. He says, it doesn't matter if I die eventually, even if it's one day of being a better person, I want to do better and live a better life.
That must have
no
given
regrets.
Moshi a little doki doki.
I think so. Even if he still struggles a lot with who Gumong is now and who he used to be and everything tied up with that, I think that did give him a little bit of hope in a way. But it's not just Moshi's father that we have to worry about here. There are freaking over 9,000 graves of warriors here, and honestly, most of them maybe don't have anything to do with Gumong, but definitely there are some soldiers who died because of Gumong's betrayal, to say the least. And there's noble families, more importantly, who feel that Gumong owes them quite a blood debt. And who shows up at the grave to interrupt this heartfelt moment? It is Moronglian, if you remember him. He's the pretty guy, addicted to drugs, used to be Gumong's master.
Yeah.
He shows up, ruins this heartfelt moment, and says, you motherfucker should kneel at every single one of these graves just to begin to show how sorry you are. You want to kneel at one grave, Moshi's father's grave, and say you're sorry. That's not enough. It's not even remotely enough. So he loses his shit at him and says that just Not because he actually thinks that will make a difference, but because he just wants to humiliate Gumong. But Gumong, despite knowing those intentions, agrees that that was a good place to start. Moshi is washing his hands of it. It's like, I have important military matters to attend to. Catch you later. But he does sneakily watch Gumong from afar whenever he can, as he takes like 3 days kneeling at every single grave and repeating, like, you know, Gumong is a traitor who deserves to die.
Oh my god.
At every single grave, like kneeling and apologizing with no food, no water, no sleep, just constantly. And what's worse is that his display is gathering attention, not from like the people who are actually directly affected by this, who have real grievances with him, but just commoners who know of his reputation and decide to go and harass him while he's doing this. So he's subjected to a lot of verbal abuse and is even beaten up in the process of this, but still continues to follow his word and even like passes out and is left unconscious in the graves while he's doing this. But eventually he picks himself up and is able to finish the task at hand. And so it's really showing his resolve to change. And this is because he empathizes with Moshi.
Right.
This is all because like he has these tender feelings for Moshi inside of him. And Moshi is still watching him from afar, and when, of course, like, he sees how beat up he is, he does care for him and brings him food, pretends it's not really for him, but has him eat and takes care of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a very intense scene just to start off with. And we also get a very big flashback on Moshi as a child experiencing his father not returning home from war. And it reveals a lot about Moshi that I think wasn't truly clear before, because he is, you know, a notable general. He is just a huge military figure. He's this very noble, gallant gentleman, but he actually hates war. He grew up wanting so much to be a warrior and a hero like his father, but after losing him, like, it's immediately changed for him. He has no desire to be a hero. He has no desire to have any glory. He's doing his job and trying to prevent as much sacrifice as possible, but finds no joy in it that he used to have as like an innocent child, with all these legends and mystique surrounding it. And I think that's very revealing, because Gumong as a general was very different. Like, he truly believed in a lot more noble ideals about like heroism and warriorhood and all of these things, and had huge ambitions for that. But Moshi was always very tethered to this deep loss that he had.
We love a tragic backstory.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, no worries, because we also get a lighthearted episode after this.
Oh, good.
Yes.
It's getting a little too dark. Moran-coded Animal Crossing episode.
Yes, so in a very busy season of work, Moshi starts displaying his fussy princess behaviors, where he is kind of just working himself slowly to death and getting tummy troubles because he refuses to eat.
Oh, wow.
And to the point where they like try to get medicine for him, and the doctor's pissed because it doesn't matter if he takes medicine if he's not like eating properly. And every time the cooks and his men are trying to bring him dinner, he finds something to complain about and won't eat it.
Wow.
Just get his princess behavior, but he's just kind of deeply fussy on the inside, I think. So the cooks, exasperated, are like, "You there, Gumong, we've tried everything. You can actually cook pretty well for some reason.
Oh.
You try to, like, get him to eat something." And so he's in one of his more lucid moods, kind of acting more like his former self than a little dog. Mm-hmm. So he's like, "Yeah, no problem. I'll take care of it." And so he goes to the lake to fish and runs into the Chuaning character.
Okay.
And it's kind of fantastic because he just catches a glimpse and thinks it is a beautiful woman bathing and is like scandalized and shocked and averts his gaze and is like, "I'm so fucking sorry, ma'am." Which only makes the Chuaning character, who has a name. Yeah, so Murong Chuyi is cultivating there secretly.
Is his master's name also Murong?
Yeah, and that's a name that's essentially tied to the emperor's family.
Okay, cool.
So
It's
Murong,
like the Jin sect.
yeah,
Okay.
yes. So those guys are all related to each other, but important name to know. Tells him, like, hey, keep it a secret that I was cultivating here. Because he actually passed out cultivating and needed medicine. So he sent Gumong on a little errand to go fetch. It's like a whole side quest. He has to go get medicine, bring it back to the beauty. He calls him Little Dragon Lady to his face, which is based on a legend of like a white clothed like mystical maiden who is very beautiful. And he's just like, not even worth the effort. I was like, okay, you're clearly crazy, but since you helped me and you promised to keep this cultivation thing a secret and my illness a secret, I'll give you anything you want, I guess. And he's like, cool, can you help me get some fish? Because he hasn't been able to catch anything. And he uses this like special needle thing that just like a magic arrow that shoots into the water and gets the exact type of fish he wants.
Wow.
And gives it to him. And he's like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. You are so kind. Thank you, Magic Dragon Lady. And he's just shocked that anyone would find him kind because he's notoriously cranky. And look, could have these special needle arrows then, I guess. So he got a cool item from his side quest. And all of this was just to feed Moshi a very nice meal. So he goes back and cooks the fish. And this alone is not enough to tempt Moshi into eating. So he has to go bring it to him in his office and then make a big fuss. And this is very much like General Gu, like his former self-coded behavior, where he says, I brought this meal for me to eat. I'm just going to eat it in front of you. Like, you can have some if you want, but I'm going to take all the good pieces first. Like, he just makes this like big like scene that is just to irritate him and be like passive-aggressively like, no, I'm gonna eat this.
Yeah, yeah.
Tricks him into eating, essentially. I thought that was really cute because Moran and Chuanin also do this.
Yes.
It just reminded me so much of the sweetness we get from Ara.
And so did he like the fish that he caught for him?
He did like the fish and he ate it. And I don't even think, yeah, he did tell him that he cooked it himself at some point. But it was really sweet. I almost thought that maybe, I know Moshi is familiar with Gumong's cooking from like the past, and I wonder if that's like kind of part of the reason why. It wasn't just delicious, it was like a familiar taste to him.
Aww. Dysfunctional family results in awkward rescue mission for all.
Yes. Okay, so this took me a good long time to make, but Animal Crossing episode is interrupted with a call for help from the palace. The Emperor is demanding that Moshi go on a rescue mission. Because Moshi is going, he has to take Gumong because he doesn't trust anyone else to look after him. And also going with the rescue party are two uncles of the kidnapped party. And it's all a little complicated, so let's go through the family tree, shall we?
Okay.
Okay, so down at the bottom, Yue Chengqing, he has gone missing and is being held hostage. And so the Emperor is like, we need to send somebody to go find and rescue him. So he is the young master of a noble family. He's a junior, essentially.
Yeah.
Not very useful, but he is good heart, cheery personality.
Okay.
His mother was the official wife of Yue Tian, who was a master artificer, a nobleman, absolute shit human being to his family. A huge playboy in his youth. So he had a concubine. I don't even think she has a name, but the concubine, who was a chin player he knocked up, produced Zheng Yeshui,
Okay.
who is a really sweet and lovely person. I think he used to be in the military. He's friends with Moshi and Gumong. He's a wheelchair user, and he's kind of gotten the short end of the stick in all of this because the rest of the family kind of hates him for existing.
Okay.
Because he is the son of this concubine.
Yeah.
Who, really wasn't even supposed to be there. But Murong Huang, this lovely lady who was the official wife, she died in childbirth producing Yue Chenqing. She had an adopted brother. She adopted like this little kid off of the street. And so even though they were adoptive siblings, it was more like she was also kind of a mother figure. Anyways, that adopted child is Murong Chuyi, the Chuaning figure.
You mean the sexy dragon river lady?
Yes, sexy dragon lady. Who absolutely adored her, revered her. She was his savior, probably the only person he ever loved.
Does Murong Chui hate Yu Chengqing because his mom died in childbirth?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. Especially because, she died in childbirth not just naturally, but because she was under severe stress from just how awful her marriage was and just everything Yue Zhentian was doing wrong.
Yeah.
And Murong Chui, he has a love-hate relationship with Yue Chenqing because, as much as he hates that his sister died, he still has a little bit of a soft spot for him.
So it's like, you're my sister's blood.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Yue Chenqing adores him. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, he just loves him so much. Like, it doesn't matter how cruel or rude he is to him or how much he ignores him. He thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Aww.
And so I think that kind of gets under his skin a little bit too.
Yeah.
But he hates Zhang Yeshui even more. There's a lot of... Basically, Murong Chuyi hates everyone here. But the hate is a little bit one-sided, though, because Zhang Yeshui is a really nice person and also thinks really highly of Murong Chuyi. Like, thinks he's an absolute great artificer, like, tries to treat him respectfully, like, puts up with a lot of disrespect from him, is essentially a peacemaker and all this. But anyways, even though they are technically, like, half-brothers, Murong Chuyi still makes him, like, refer to him as, like, uncle, even though they're of, like, the same generation, because, like, using, like, the hierarchy of, like, I was, like, you know, Murong Huang's brother.
Yeah.
So he's still trying to, like, put himself higher on the hierarchy. So, like, it's a little bit, like, a demeaning relationship there.
Gotcha.
But
it's like, I was her brother, not her child.
Yes.
But he kind of was her child.
Yeah.
Okay.
The uncles are paired up with Moshi and Gumong to go on this rescue mission. And it's very tense atmosphere, but a lot of fun things happen along the way.
Okay.
And that's kind of the main, this is like the main arc of the book. This is kind of where we're at through the very end.
Okay, so are the uncles Zhang Yushui and Murong Chuyi?
Yeah.
A big day for Gumong, who doesn't know what sex is.
Yes, so they go on a magic flying ship on their way to the location where they figure out their little junior, who is, Gumong refers to as Little White Bird. Yes, Little White Bird is trapped on an island, and they're on their way through the flying boats, and he experiences a very big day. Starts with eating way too much delicious dinner.
Okay.
Till his tummy gets hurty.
Okay.
Then Moshi rubs his tummy, trying to... Yeah.
Why does Moshi rub his tummy? Like, I know Moshi.
I know! He just can't help it. It's
the thing is, you explain it as, we know Moshi, like, they had a thing, they were together, and then he was betrayed by Gumong, then Gumong became, like, a dog, and then Moshi's like, we're only keeping you around to experiment on you and then kill you. But I will give you a little tummy rub, I guess.
Because Mo's like, it hurts, I ate too much. He's just plopped down on a bed. And, like, Moshi just... He's so... Like, if you push him even the slightest bit, like, if you acknowledge his affection in any way, he, like, retracts and is, like, mean again.
Oh, right.
Very tsundere bitch.
Yes.
But he rubs his tummy just a little bit, and Gumong falls asleep, comforted by this. However... Unfortunately,
no.
The action of having his tummy rubbed while sleeping kind of just reminds him of other things, and he dreams about the past.
Stop!
Not only does he dream about the past and some things he did in the past, he has a full-on wet dream. Like, it full-on, he, like, finishes it and everything with all the results thereof.
Is Moshi there?
He's fucking there.
So he's just, like, rubbing his tummy, and then all of a sudden he just comes, like...
To be fair, like, we see, like, the whole, like, dream flashback, and it's not clear how much time has passed, so I'm not sure if he was there the whole time, or if when, like, Gumong woke up and is like, what the fuck happened, Moshi is, like, there, and is like...
Maybe. Oh my god, did he, like, moan or something?
He wakes up and is like, I feel weird. What happened? Like, he's looking down at his pants like, what the fuck happened? Am I sick? And he's just literally, he's like, am I unwell? And Moshi's like, no, don't worry about it. You're not sick. He's just like,
oh my god.
He's like, I don't even want to go here. I don't even want to think about this. I am not about to drop sex ed on this creature.
Oh my god.
I don't even want to know what he was dreaming about. He knows. He knows that Gumong is recovering certain memories and is denying it wholeheartedly. So he doesn't even want to go there.
Do we get to see what Gumong dreamed about?
Yeah, vaguely. I think we kind of know. It's a brief kind of synopsis of what he dreams about. It's not like a full-on flashback.
We were doing missionary. We were doing I'm on my back and he's on top. We were doing...
And he just has that kind of memory. and then he kind of moans and wakes
What's
up.
the memory? I want to know.
Well, it's like from when they were fucking in the
I
past.
want to know it. Tell me the deeds.
Okay, fine, we'll start
I'll read it. Give it to me. Moshi massaging his aching stomach in his bed, that regular forceful rhythm, recalling another kind of rhythm from his past. The man's got rhythm. Like clouds and mist dispersing, he remembered. Oh, meat bun, you poetic fuck. On the night of Moshi's coming of age, they'd fallen together onto the narrow little army cot. His thoughts were muddled, but he could remember with perfect clarity the passionate look on Moshi's face. His handsome, youthful, self-restrained features were drowned in the mist of love and desire. His dark eyes, usually so cool and controlled, looked slightly bewildered, like a young beast that had fallen into the trap of lust. This is like their first time.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't put that in the PowerPoint. Youth meant inexperience and impetuousness, meant boundless power straining to break loose. Beastliness meant primal instinct and voracity, limitless desire threatening to spill out. Those eyes stared fixedly and unerringly at Gumang. Clothes fell to the floor like the prying open of a clamshell, revealing trembling flesh beneath the faint scent of the sea.
Oh, meat bud.
Cracking open clams sure reminds me of sex with my
It's just like
best friend.
It's so funny.
Gumang's throat bobbed as he swallowed, and now he was faced with the sight of Moshi undressed, which was exhilarating and terrifying in equal measure. His shoulders were broad, his waist slender yet well-muscled, like a Dorito. Back then, Moshi had far fewer scars, especially on his chest. Back then, his chest was perfect and unblemished, clean of the wound Gumang had personally carved into his flesh.
Right? Isn't that good?
In the dancing light and shadow, the beds swayed under the weight of their tangled bodies, emitting strange chorus of creaks. Gumang remembered how Moshi's motions had first been restrained as he pinned Gumang beneath him.
Oh, that's not gonna last long.
As the night wore on, the young man's desire went to his head and his thrusts grew faster and harder. Gumang felt as though he had become clay in Moshi's hands, and his wine-softened limbs were rearranged, half by his own will and half by Moshi's, into every sort of position as the two of them entwined.
It was literally like you said.
It went all over the place, oh my god! He remembered Moshi's alluring lips, slightly parted as he panted, his low gasps as he pressed close to Gumang's ear, his body surging ceaselessly in the murky light. An overwhelming sensation rushed through him. Gumang couldn't help but let out a hoarse moan, just like the one from his memories. Oh. Okay, now,
This is something to remember is like even though Moshi is like the pining one right now, like he topped back in the day. He fucked Gumang 7 ways to Sunday. Like okay. Gumang wakes up and immediately confronts Moshi about this, saying like, I don't understand everything I saw, but like I know that we were together and
you liked me.
And you liked me. Like, he really confronts him about that. And Moshi, like, denies it off the bat. But Gumang, like, even though he is, like, very, like, naive at this point, still presses for the truth. He's like, I know you're lying. You liked me. Like, there is something going on that I don't fully understand. And he says, like, the way... Because we're getting this from Gumang's experience and Gumang's perspective, and we just, like, witnessed, like, a very, like, it's explicitly sexual, but very romantic, and... It just takes an even more romantic turn when Gumang takes the significance and really like takes that core of the significance and puts it on display for Moshi to confront. And I really wanted to go over some of those quotes because it really surprised me. So he says things like, so you like doing those things with me, right? And Moshi is like trying to deny it, but Gumang continues, I think I liked it. It felt really good. And you're thinking like he's talking about just like the animal act going on here, right? Because especially because like that's where his mind is currently at. It's not thinking necessarily in complex abstract thoughts.
Right.
But he says, it seemed like you needed me. It's good to be needed by someone. For someone to get happiness from me, not because of hatred or venting. That felt so good. Like that's his takeaway. He thought that it was nice that he could make Moshi happy in those memories, that someone could derive pleasure and happiness from him because like his existence, like whether it's just his physical body or just his identity, has always been an object of hatred for everyone around him. And he, to the point where this is a new concept to him, that there is something else possible that he didn't even know existed for him. So that was heartbreaking. He wasn't even fixated on the physical pleasure. It was more of just the concept of having joy with another person. Someone looking at him with something other than hate.
It felt like you needed me.
Yeah. And he also says, I've been living with you this whole time without ever helping you out and always making you mad. Why didn't you tell me I could make you like me like that?
Oh.
Right?
Oh no.
Like, he's just fixated on the idea of Moshi liking him and finding joy in him somehow instead of just being a problem for him.
Yeah.
Isn't that just hard? It's so strangely innocent.
Yeah.
Like, this is a situation that is totally, completely made up to the point where we can get this. Mm-hmm. But it's so interesting.
I feel like I could see how this could delve into, like, we could do those things together again. And it wouldn't mean anything. Just knowing that you need me is enough.
And Moshi, of course, is rejecting all of this and is too embarrassed to even face that again.
Yeah. That was a nightmare and did not
He's
happen
like,
in real
that was
life.
a dream, did not happen. Yes.
Yeah.
And so but Gumong is like, no, absolutely not, and doesn't give him a chance to say no further than that because he leaps up and kisses him.
Oh my god.
Yep. After Moshi rejects the idea that it had any basis in reality and says it was just a dream, Gumong just kisses him.
Oh my god!
And Moshi gets this just instant, like, burst of, it's exactly like how it used to be.
Oh!
Just the feeling of him is so familiar and everything. And then he bites him. So Moshi bites Gumong and is absolutely angry at his shamelessness. But Gumong just looks at him and says, you're lying to me. It wasn't a dream, it was real. Like, he confirmed it with the kiss.
That's good.
Isn't it good?
Oh, that's
so
really good.
But also, it was like, and like, that's so romantic. And then it's Gumong swept a glance over the lower half of Moshi's body. Just a moment ago, I felt you against me. So it's like, oh my god! And then it took me a solid moment, and I don't think I fully understood until rereading it. I'm like, oh, he reacted to that kiss.
He's like, you can lie, but he can't.
I'm like, thank you, Miban, for bringing us back to this.
Wow.
The most romantic thing ever. And then it's just like, your boner speaks the truth.
Oh.
But then Moshi absolutely leaves and doesn't want to even look at him for a while. That was a big day for Gumong. Gumong's
Damn.
big day.
Okay, we've got Bat Island. No, really, it's called Bat Island.
There's a lot to unpack here. Little white bird, unfortunately, has gotten himself stuck on Bat Island, which is full of bat demons.
Okay.
I think the bottom right image is from Castlevania, which I'm not super familiar with, but I think they relatively look like that. They're big humanoid bat demons.
Okay.
Very beast-like.
Is there a Bat King?
There is a Bat Queen. I should put eyelashes on her. But yes, there is a Bat Queen who we do not get to see.
Oh,
but
okay.
I think will be the first thing revealed in the next volume.
Okay.
There may be some shocking surprises there.
Also, Pig Guy?
Yes, there is a pig demon that is very important that they interact with quite a bit. And all the bats are sleepily cultivating together in a tower. So
that's like so cool.
Yeah, so they're like, they go into the tower, trying to rescue the boy who's at the top of the tower. There's a bunch of sleeping bat demons that they don't want to wake up. And then the pig man. I had to Google image pig man for this, which I never want to do ever again. Mm-hmm. They encounter him, and if we go to the next slide, we'll talk more about him.
Pop quiz. What name/title does the Shangguo refer to himself as?
Yes, so the Shangguo is the pig man demon.
Okay.
Who is ancient legendary beast who pops up and is like, you're trespassing, and if you want information about where the boy is or anything else, it's actually quite simple. You just have to let me feed upon your dark secrets and I will give you answers. Kind of like 3 wishes sort of genie thing.
Okay.
With the price. He feeds off of dark secret memories.
Okay.
And he's like, all you 4 bitches have a ton of them. I'm going to eat well today.
Wow.
The pigman is only interested in cursing people out, as Meat Bun describes him, so he's using very foul language this whole time. And he refers to himself...
Gay.
So he refers to himself with a particular name/title that I think makes everyone a little bit uncomfortable. If you would like to take a stab at what that might be.
Insulter 9000.
It's a little more simple than that.
What is it?
The Shangao demon refers to himself as Daddy. He's like, let Daddy eat your memories.
Stop!
I shit you not.
Oh my god.
This is consistently the whole time, multiple times. They have to listen to him say this, and it's just off-putting for everyone involved. So Daddy gave everyone a nickname as well.
Okay.
So we have Moshi, Gumong, Murong, Chuyi, and Zheng Yeshui. They're all present. They each get an offensive nickname based off of their appearance, mostly. So just take a stab at what maybe they each get.
Well, Moshi's been called Princess, so I'll guess that.
Okay.
Gumong, dog.
Okay.
Murong Chuyi is probably like bitch, or like like some derogatory term for like beautiful woman or something.
You are doing really well.
Thank you. And Zheng Yushui is, I feel like, just like annoying or something. Like,
I wish it were that.
What is it?
I mean, they're not too bad, but
Okay.
I mean, they're definitely not. I'll tell you.
Bastard?
I'll tell you. That'd be a good one if you knew.
Yeah.
But it's both kind of just on face value appearances. So I will give you the 4 names, and you can assign them to each character.
Okay.
Lame legs.
Oh, because Yushui is in a wheelchair.
Yes.
Okay, lame legs. Wow.
I know, it's not very highbrow. Dead face.
The Chuanin guy, the Morong Chuyi,
Blue-eyed monster.
Gumong.
And Missy.
Mochi?
You would think, but Missy is
actually
Chuyi,
well, I mean,
and Dead Face is Mochi, and
that's fair.
And that is only because, like, I got it wrong too. I literally thought it was that, but Meat Bun then reminds us that Mochi is like a head taller than Murong Chuyi. He's actually like quite built. He's very masculine looking.
Okay, yeah.
Even though he's Gumong's princess.
So maybe people that know Mochi know that he's like a little prissy princess sometimes, but...
But like outwardly, Murong Chuyi is like the twinkiest, most beautiful man.
Wow. Okay,
Yes.
okay. That makes sense. Did we randomly discover the forbidden technique behind Arha's plot?
I am shooketh. I gotta say. Meat Bun just like randomly put in some information. I'm like, is this how Arha works? Like, I don't know if I'm right or wrong.
Probably. I think I did hear there were Arha spoilers in Yuwu, because they are in the same universe.
Like, I feel like this is still at a level where I can speculate and not know 100% for sure. If people know, like, maybe put your spoilers behind, like, a gap so I don't see them. But Meat Bun says that there are 3 forbidden techniques in the world of Arha. Rebirth, the Junlong chess formation, and the space-time gate of life and death. Now, I'm pretty sure we know the chess formation exists in Arha. Was Rebirth used on Chuanin?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 2 out of 3. So I'm assuming that the 3rd one is maybe relevant to Arha.
And that's what happened to Moran.
Yeah, I think, okay, here's how it's described. The space-time gate of life and death remained mysterious. According to legend, if one were to grasp this last forbidden technique, they could rip apart time and space, returning to the past and changing the future. But this technique had too many strange pitfalls, and the scrolls that told of it were not whole, only fragments of text were extant. Whether this technique had ever truly existed or was simply a story was impossible to determine. Furthermore, it was said that any who tried to use the space-time gate of life and death would meet brutal, sudden, and grisly ends. Thus, other than madmen with intense obsessions, no one would pursue this particular forbidden technique. Madman with intense obsession? Who does that sound like, Meat Bun?
So it sounds like... It sounds like Moran used that technique.
I really think so. And so, I mean, we kind of already know at this point that some timey-wimey bullshit is happening.
Yeah.
And it does seem like maybe Moran would be responsible for it, potentially. And I don't know, maybe it doesn't Moran. Maybe there's more than one madman running around.
I feel like
but who else would be that powerful and capable? I don't know. Regardless, I'm sure this technique is what is at work behind the timey-wiminess.
Yeah.
And potentially, I mean, like, could it even be used again at some point? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be multiple timelines going around. I don't know.
Very interesting.
So that was mega exciting. Like, just, like what are you doing in here?
Wow,
You're just
okay.
gonna, like, drop that information? Although it is also relevant in this plot as well, because although the technique itself is not at play on Bat Island, there is an ancient artifact that is used on the island. It kind of pops up out of the ground. And it's called the Time Mirror.
The Time Mirror?
Mm-hmm.
That makes me think of the Willy Wonka experience.
Yes! It's the unknown!
The guy behind the mirror. Inside the world of the Time Mirror 8 years ago.
So, the Pigman, daddy, if you will, tries to get everyone's memories in exchange for information, but he's kind of greedy, and so he decides to yank Gumong into the time mirror to get his memories back so that he could eat all of them. Because he tries eating his memories, and then it's like, whoa, you're missing all sorts of juicy memories. Into the time mirror you go. Moshi gets dragged in with him, trying to save him, and so these two end up in the time mirror.
Oh.
So it's it's an illusion world, essentially. They can't change anything by being in it, but it's exactly like the past.
Okay.
And they can change the past in the illusion world by acting and doing things differently, but it doesn't have any lasting effects.
Okay.
Gumong, since he was originally supposed to be the one going in there, is in the time mirror. He's in his former self, essentially, but he isn't aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's essentially just living out his life again and is gonna get those memories back.
Okay.
Moshi, on the other hand, was not supposed to be in the time mirror, so he is actually conscious that he is in the time mirror and has a chance to do things differently than he did the first time around.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and this is all very risky business because it's being in the time mirror is something that can drive you crazy or kill you just because of how tumultuously emotional it can be to relive the past.
Right.
So they get yeeted back into the days before Gumong's defection. At this point in time, in the original past, Moshi saw him like one time, and Gumong brushed him off really efficiently, and Moshi thought, oh, he's having a hard time, he's depressed, but he's gonna be fine. And so Moshi goes off to war under the Emperor's command, and never sees Gumong again, and
this is like
he defects.
Gojo and Ghetto.
Yeah, kind of. It is. And so Moshi is like, I have to figure out what actually happened because I was not aware that he was planning on defecting. So there's clearly more that's going on. He was clearly like pushed to an edge, and I wasn't aware of how bad things were. So at this point, Gumong has already been punished, stripped of his like military rank. Like he's no longer in the army. He's just a commoner now because his bestie at the time, his non-Moshi bestie, killed an envoy from a neighboring country and essentially kind of launched a war as a result of him acting irrationally and angrily instead of using his head. And that caused a ton of slave soldiers to die under Gumong's command.
Okay, so Gumong's buddy, not Gumong.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so his buddy is the one who triggered all of this, but Gumong essentially got the blame for all of it, being like the one in charge.
Okay.
And so tons of his soldiers died. He was kicked out of the army and has nothing anymore. Yeah, so he's not doing too well. So Moshi is trying to discover answers about the past. He goes to visit him, and this time he's like, I won't let him give me the runaround. I'm going to make him confess how depressed he is.
Yeah.
You know, and actually show him that I can be there for him. Like, this is where it won't change anything at this point, but he wants to know what Gumong would actually say if he was honest with him.
Yeah.
So he goes to find a Gumong in a brothel, And you think, okay, he's engaging in debauchery and stuff as just like a man down on his luck. But he's actually there because he's like with like, you know, these prostitutes who are also like entertainers, like they can like play and perform. And he's making these entertainers play the soul calling song, which is essentially a song that is played for fallen warriors to kind of pacify their souls and help them move on.
Mm-hmm.
And because the soldiers who died under his command were slaves, nobody would play the song for them as it's like traditionally done for soldiers. And so he's like going to these brothels and spending time there because he's paying these girls to like play the song for him.
Aww.
And they're the only ones who will because they're just getting paid.
Yeah.
And so it's very sad, and Moshi kind of walks in on this, and it's just another layer of like why he's doing what he's doing. Like everything that seems flippant and casual on his part has a deeper meaning. So there's clearly more going on than he originally assumed.
If only Moshi had the cherry magic thing and could hear Gumong's thoughts.
That would save us a lot of trouble.
Except that he's not cherry magic because they had already banged.
So Moshi goes there and is like, I need to talk to you. Like, get this girl out of here. Like, we're gonna have a serious talk. Gumong tries to brush him off in every way possible, just acting like, hey man, don't cockblock me, I'm trying to get laid. Like, all of these things.
But he's lying.
Yeah. And he's just like, hey, I don't even want to talk about military stuff anymore. I just want to, like, have a good time. So just get out of here. And he just keeps being like, stop clinging to me. He gets more aggressive with it and just be like, come on, like, just get out of here, leave me alone. And Moshi is just having this, like, he's breaking down as he's trying to just have a conversation with him, just overwrought with emotion, just wanting to talk to him, and Gumong is still pushing him away, and he's like almost just overcome with all the things he wants to say to him, and Gumong won't let him. There's just this huge wall built up, and Meatbun makes it the most heartbreaking thing to read. You just feel your chest tighten with how much you can empathize with Moshi wanting to tell him these things that Gumong is not in a position to like hear or believe. And so it gets even like rather indecent where like Moshi is like, just for one night, save tonight for me, like wanting to speak to him one last time properly, even though it won't change anything.
Mm-hmm.
And Gumong even starts teasing him like, don't make it sound so indecent. You have a long road to walk in the future. You need to guard your purity. And this is laughable because they have such a past together. And Moshi says, am I still pure? And there's this just awkward silence. The girl's still there being like, oh, did he just say he was gay? Like, and Gumong is just still trying to deny, like, have you lost your mind? And Moshi says, you know exactly what I mean. And so finally Moshi's like, I've long lost any purity I had. I don't care about these things. You can't chase me away. And Gumong finally, it's like, fine, like, tells the girl to get out. And he's like, okay, for old time's sake, like, since you were so keen to, like, rush over, I'll accompany you for one last night. And, like, starts to kind of come on to him and is like, kisses him. It's like, oh, it's like, you just, he's kind of distracting him with sex at this point since he can't chase them away altogether.
Yeah.
And it's still heartbreaking because that's not what Moshi wants, even though it's almost everything he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Moshi still pushes him off and tries to get him to take him seriously, and just sees how one-sided his feelings seem to be. He's treating Gumong with so much sincerity, and he's not getting any sincerity in return. Mm-hmm. However, there is a brief window into Gumong's side of things, where we're reminded that it's not one-sided, that Gumong is fond of him. He just isn't able to accept it. Mm-hmm. I think, like, at this point we understand that Gumong, knows he's no good, that's social status really is something that he can't overcome, and that as a noble person, Moshi and him can never be together. There's no way, and so he doesn't want to shackle Moshi with his status as a slave and tries to brush him off for that. But it says about Gumong, would Gumong really bed a man for no reason other than pleasure? And to skip a little bit, no, he hadn't made a carnal mistake because of his silly impulse, nor did he repeat it just to chase a fleeting pleasure. In truth, Gumong had long since developed a fondness he barely recognized. From this rose the impulse, and from this the pleasure. His heart had stopped belonging to himself long ago. It was just that he was unwilling to admit or accept it.
Oh.
So while Moshi is having this crisis, feeling like all of his sincere feelings were one-sided, while Gumong was only indulging him as a casual sort of, I don't know, friend with benefits, secretly Gumong really does feel the same sincerity. He just cannot accept it for all of these reasons, and probably some hidden reasons too.
That's so sad.
And so they're kind of entangled with each other, and Moshi is trying to get across to him that, like, you know, please, if there's anything you're hiding, just tell me. I want to help you. I want to side with you. But Gumong is not willing to be open with him or vulnerable with him, and ultimately Moshi has to leave, has to give up and leave.
In the dream realm?
Yeah, he goes back to his house. I mean, everything is this in the dream realm, so he just goes back home. And he takes a different approach. So instead of trying, he knows that trying to work on Gumong at this point is futile, so he goes and visits the Emperor instead and tries to discover, like, okay, what is going on behind the scenes? There seems to be more than I realize about Gumong and, you know, being kind of dismissed from the military, the Emperor. There seems to be more going on, so I'm going to go talk to the Emperor. So he does. And what he finds out, and again, we've seen the Emperor in the present timeline, and he seems very, you know, how's the word? He seems kind of quirky, he seems friendly enough, but also very deeply conniving in a way.
Okay.
He definitely seems clever and ruthless and not swayed by nicer emotions.
Okay.
But distinctly, the Emperor of 8 years in the past is a lot more transparent with those feelings, and so it takes very little for Moshi to realize just how bad things are between Gumong and the Emperor. Because he goes to the Emperor and he kind of requests more thing. Like, he requests, like, the Emperor to be nicer to Gumong. He's like, hey, all Gumong wanted was gravestones for the soldiers who fell in battle under his command. That's all he's asking. That's all he wants. And the Emperor very flatly tells him he doesn't deserve it. He's a dog. He's a slave. It's bad enough that we gave him, like, all of these titles under the previous Emperor, and he disappointed us. So it's, you know, good enough that he was just dismissed from the military. He doesn't get to ask for more. And furthermore, we might be willing to let slaves die for us in battle. That's honor enough. They don't need to be honored as soldiers. That's, like, we will let them die, but we will not, like, give them glory. We refuse. Like, so that is intentionally drawing the line. It was, and Moshi realizes very suddenly that, like, the callousness behind the Emperor's actions, like, ran a lot deeper, and that this was something Gumong was very aware of.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, oh, the Emperor doesn't understand or doesn't care enough about, like, your passion or your ideal. It's very much, oh, they never respected you. They never thought highly of you. They just used you and discarded you at the nearest opportunity.
Damn.
And Moshi begins to realize as well that the timing of things is very interesting, because the Emperor is demanding that he, like, leave the capital and go serve, like, on a front line somewhere. And he's requesting the Emperor to let him stay in the capital for a few more days so that he can be around for the execution of Gumong's friend, because he knows that this is a tipping point for Gumong and he wants to be there to help him not go off the rails.
Yeah.
But the Emperor refuses, insists upon it, to the point where Moshi realizes that this is all part of a setup. Dismissing Gumong from the military and executing his, like, right-hand man, and refusing to give, like, the soldiers under his command gravestones. These are all intentional actions to set him off, to make him want to defect.
Right.
So this is a lot, like, it's more than just, like, Gumong acting on his own. It seems like things are actually, like, set up against him on purpose.
Yeah.
And, like, he even brings this up with the Emperor, like, hey, Gumong will defect if, like, you keep this up. Like, you're going to give him no other choice. And the Emperor just blows up in front of him and just be like, give him no choice. Like, you think he deserves a choice? Like, he has no power. He's, like, nothing without us.
Right.
Like, who cares if he, like, turns traitor? He can't do anything at all. So it's just forcing his hand and knowing full well that this is going to happen. But what's interesting is that we know from the future, Gumong does quite a bit of damage to the nation after he turns traitor. And it really shows how, like, interesting how no one believed in Gumong's dream of, giving slaves more rights and, like, showing that, like, there was, like, so much, like, talent and, like, honor in, like, these people who had been oppressed. No one believed in his dream. Everyone thought that that was worthless, that, like, anything he did would amount to nothing. But he went and turned around and did show that, in the completely negative sense, he did have a lot of capacity to change things in a huge way. Right. He was able to, like, turn around and wreck everyone's shit because they wouldn't believe in him. So he really did have that kind of determination inside of him, which is beautiful, but terrible at the same time. So there's secrets going on for sure, and there's a huge setup. And he goes and visits Lu Jianxing in prison. And so this is, like, we thought that it was Gumong in jail, but it's actually his friend. So Moshi goes and visits him in prison to see, like, if he had anything to say for himself. He's thinking he must have been set up as well. Like, maybe he didn't even, like, kill the envoy. Like, maybe this is all part of some bigger conspiracy.
Yeah.
But Lu Jianxing flat out laughs in his face and is like, yeah, I did it on purpose. You thought it was just because I was short-tempered? No, I killed that guy on purpose to get Gumong in trouble and get him kicked out of the military. And Moshi's like, the fuck you mean you did it for Gumong? Yeah, Gumong is suffering. It's like Gumong was, like, your best friend. How could you do this to him? He's like, I did it to save him. And you're like, you're fucking crazy. Or are you? Lu Jianxing is characterized as a bit of a madman, but he does raise some good points. So I'm not sure as the reader whether to, like, take him seriously when he says he did it for Gumong, how reasonable that is, or if he is a little bit just kind of as crazy as Gumong in the sense that he's just sticking to his ideals this much. But his rationale was that Gumong was ascending. He was, like, climbing the ranks, he was getting more military power, he was getting more esteem, he really was on the verge of changing things, which maybe would have been good for a lot of people, but in his mind, like, the higher he rose, the harder he would fall. That, like, there was no room for error, because a normal general from a nobleman's family can, be defeated in battle or make mistakes and, get a little slap on the wrist and, still have honor and glory and riches. But if Gumong ever messed up once in his life, it would be over for him. And he was trying to save him by essentially, like yanking him down as soon as possible. Because essentially, like, he was right, because Gumong got dismissed from the military, but he was free to go. He didn't get thrown in prison. He didn't get executed. He was just stripped of everything he had worked so hard for. And he's like, I saved Gumong because he's out walking free. I'm in prison, but I did this for him. And Moshi, who really, truly sided with Gumong in every way, believed in everything he believed in, was like, how dare you? This is not what he wanted.
I see.
So they're kind of fighting over him a little bit. Yeah. And it's interesting because Lu Jianxing is very much like, Meat Bun kind of says it straight in the text that he's a straight man. He definitely, like, is not into Gumong the way Moshi is. But at the same time, as you're reading it, there's definitely a bit of jealousy going on between the two of them towards Gumong. Because he doesn't like Moshi, because Moshi was always kind of, like, third-wheeling him and Gumong and getting in the way, and he always kind of suspected there was something going on between them because they would give each other these, like, intense looks, and he's like, are my bros gay for each other? I hate this for me. So that's a huge reveal just by itself, that this was not an accident that happened, because Gumong ultimately, like his execution and death is, like, what sent Gumong off the rails, is what everyone was thinking. That's what Moshi was thinking when he went into the past. But even that's a lie. Even like if Gumong knew that much, would it make a difference? So kind of a flex for Gumong that his like bro was willing to die for him just to prove a point.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little sus, but anyways, he gets executed. So
Oh no! Really?
like that. Well, I mean, it's already happened, right?
Yeah. Oh, I guess so.
But in the time here, we do get to see that execution firsthand, and we get to see Gumong show up to execution, share some wine with his bro. It's kind of a last parting thing.
Yeah.
He truly believed that he was his friend to the very end, and there's nothing Moshi can do about it. But there is also a third factor. So we've got two factors already going on here about all the fuckery going on behind the scenes. But there's a third one, and that is a mysterious dark cloaked figure who has been visiting Gumong this entire time, at least since he was dismissed from the military, at least, maybe before then. And they've been in communication. Moshi is invisible, by the way.
Okay.
I mean, he wasn't invisible for starters, but he went back home and put on a magical invisibility cloak, so he's been following Gumong around very conveniently.
Okay.
So he sees this dark cloak figure, and it's clear that he has been like, come to the dark side towards Gumong. Gumong's like, fine, I'll do it.
I'm convinced.
Yeah, presumably from the Lao Kingdom of Dark Cultivators and whatnot. But they go to Warrior Soul Mountain or something. It's a very on the nose name. Okay, we're just gonna call it Warrior Soul Mountain.
Okay.
It's the kind of graveyard place that Moshi and Gumong were at the beginning of the novel. But there is a secret restricted part of it that is locked up. It's been locked up. No one's been allowed to go into, except for like maybe the Emperor or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so at the beginning of the novel, Gumong was like, hey, that place looks familiar. And Moshi's like, don't be crazy. There's no way you could have been in there. Anyways, in the flashback, 8 years ago, we see that the dark cloaked figure took Gumong to this like hidden, like restricted portion of the Warrior Soul Graveyard Mountain place. And this was supposed to be a very big gesture to help convince him to turn traitor. So whatever's on that mountain is enough for Gumong to decide, fuck this whole nation, I'm gonna defect.
I want to know what's on that.
I do too, but Moshi couldn't go there and figure it out. The barrier was too strong for him, except it must connect somehow back to like Gumong's ideals, or like something dark about the Empire or the Emperor, and maybe something to do with the slaves. So I don't know. Whatever it was, he was like, okay, see you on the flip side. I'm gonna see you soon. I'm gonna defect. Okay. And the cloaked figure was like, all right, bro, see you later. Now, there's like one last nail in the coffin that Moshi suspected was there, but didn't know quite what it was. Because the Emperor assigned Gumong one last mission as a civilian. And he thought that this might also have been part of his tipping point. And it turns out what the Emperor asked him to do was to deliver Liu Zhangxing's head to the kingdom of the envoy who was killed.
Oh.
He said, physically take this head and travel with it all the way to that kingdom and give it to them and say sorry. Because this is all your fault. And so you can imagine that this is especially traumatizing. This is really fucked up for the Emperor to tell him to do that.
Yeah.
And he did it.
Oh.
We see him take the head and travel with it. And just how there's no one who sees him knowing that he's disgraced will even interact with him. He's completely alone in the world, and there's nothing left for him. And he's carrying his best friend's head across the nation. Yep.
I'd defect.
Yeah, I think so. So Moshi sees all of this. It's not all the answers, but we definitely see the state that Gumong was in before he defected, and it seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Seems a little more reasonable.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that was sad. And Moshi is very sad. And so meanwhile, outside of the time mirror, everyone's getting attacked by like bats and shit. Like the rest of the party is fighting for their lives. They're trying to get them out of the time mirror before they die inside of it. So like days are passing inside the time mirror, while seconds are passing outside in the real world. But they get out of the time mirror. So okay, so this This is a quote from TGCF.
Okay.
But it really reminded me of the pain that Moshi is going through, so if you want to read.
To watch with your own eyes your beloved be trampled and ridiculed, yet be unable to do anything, that's the worst suffering in the world.
Yeah. So Moshi gets, like, dumped out of the time mirror, and all of this, like, this feeling, I feel like that the quote describes, hits him. And he's like on death's door with how much agony he's in, of just feeling so much intense empathy for Gumong, and having tried so hard, even though he knew it was futile in the time mirror, to change the past, to connect to him, to somehow show him that he was on his side, and to fail so miserably, to know he was suffering that much, and knowing that the past had already happened, and he wasn't there for him, and he can't go back. All of it's done, written in stone. He's suffering so much. You can just feel the pain reading it. It's palpable. Yeah. So I was going through it.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even the part that made me cry.
Oh.
So anyways, he comes out of time mirror and everyone's still dying. So guess who comes back? The whale.
Fantastic.
Tantian, the epic whale. And so he just summons the whale, and like instantly it just like atomic bomb nukes, like kills all of the bat demons and stuff. And so it's like incredibly powerful. And we also get this little tidbit about why Moshi doesn't use that weapon in battle, despite having been like on the battlefield countless times, right? So we get this little tidbit about him also while he is having sad boy hours. Literally, this whale like comes out and just like kills all the monsters in like a sweeping rain of blood all in one stroke. Like, it's just immediate bloodbath. And Meat Bun writes, not only would this move make him look monstrous in the eyes of onlookers, but more importantly, Moshi didn't wish to exterminate his opponents. He hated the battlefield. He enlisted in order to protect, not to conquer, and least of all for revenge. Whether his opponents were humans or beasts, good or evil, Moshi's instinct was to spare them whenever possible, to give them a chance to retreat. This power that could destroy thousands of living souls in an instant was one that he possessed but never let himself use. But now, to put an end to the sight of Gumong killing with the Lao Kingdom's demonic weapon, to put an end to the strife as quickly as possible, on the verge of utter collapse, he unleashed this forbidden, fatal blow. So what happened when they left the time mirror, actually, is that, I mean, he comes out, he's devastated, he's barely, like, even seeing what's around him, but Gumong also comes out, and he's changed. With one glance, Moshi recognizes, like, his facial expression, and how this is not the Gumong who entered the mirror. This is Gumong with his memories restored. And this is General Gu. And so he comes out guns blazing, right? He's fighting. He doesn't have a spiritual core anymore. It's been shattered. So he can't summon any spiritual weapons. But he's able to summon a demonic weapon, which is the knife that he stabbed Moshi with.
Oh.
And so he's like killing these bat demons with them. Doing a good job. But just the sight, like after everything he just experienced, Moshi seeing him fighting with that weapon was so devastating to him that he used this like spiritual attack that he never allowed himself to use, because it was that painful for him to see Gumong fighting with that cursed weapon.
Oh my gosh.
This is angsty, isn't
That's
it?
so good though.
It's so good.
Oh, Meat Bun.
Oh, Meat Bun. Oh yeah, so next slide. Good news! Gumong is back!
Oh,
Yay! So he came out with his memories intact from being in the time mirror, which is good.
Okay.
Moshi, like, knows it's him instantly. Like, that's just a really powerful moment. But next slide.
Bad news. The OG Gumong is back.
Yeah, turns out that's probably a downgrade. That's worse than, like, the sweet, naive Gumong who is willing to turn over a new leaf. This Gumong's an asshole to Moshi. Like, just how he was kind of an asshole to him in, like, the mirror world. He comes out and he's like, I mean, he's perfectly friendly and courteous to everyone else, but he turns around and like immediately just everything that comes out of his mouth to Moshi is just like, it's like teasing, but not in an affectionate way. It's degrading. It's mocking. It's like Moshi is in the most pain right now, like finally seeing the man he loved back in front of his eyes to some extent, but also the man who betrayed him, and also the man that he feels that he failed and let down. And Gumong is just mean to him.
Yeah.
He's just bullying him, and everyone's just like awkwardly like, why are you like this to him?
Yeah.
And it hurts. It's like, it's not that bad. It's just words being thrown at him, and they're just casual, flippant, mocking words. But because you're in Moshi's state of mind, it, like, every single word just, like, hits you, like, just a stab in the heart.
Yeah.
It's so hard to read. And, I mean, his eyes are still blue. They're not the eyes of the man he loved. And, like, I think what traumatized Moshi the most about Gumong when he defected and Gumong afterwards is, like, his apathy. Like, he used to be such a passionate man, and everything he believed in, like, he put his whole heart into, and he got to see a side of him that was apathetic and cold. And the Gumong in front of him now is the same kind of apathetic, cold, mocking person that he left behind. That was the last man he saw. So that's hard.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And even though he's kind of friendly and normal to other people in the party, I mean, they do rescue Little Whitebird, by the way. They managed to pull him out there, and they're hiding in a cave because the Bat Queen is awake and now looking for them. Yeah, there's this whole other plot going on, but I'm focusing more on them.
Yeah.
Gumong clearly is still the demonic cultivator guy at heart, because he's like, oh yeah, I'll help you save this boy, get out of here. Why? Because I can't kill you and escape. That was my first idea, but you're asking me why I'm not doing that right now. Well, he draws a knife and tries to attack him, and they put up their cultivation shields. Like, see, I just wouldn't win. So you guys all keep my secret that I've got my memories back, and I will help you out. It's as easy as that. And they're like, that's kind of like level of secret keeping is treason.
Yeah.
But they don't really have a choice. So he's very much a calculating person at the moment. And so it really hurts seeing like pieces of this very cool, charismatic guy, but also a lot of darkness in him as well. And I think it's like very Yiling Patriarch Wang Shin vibes at this time.
Yeah.
That is really enjoyable to read. Their first private conversation together when Moshi leaves the cave and Gumong follows after. If you want to go to the next slide.
Me, by the end of this book, meat bun, when I catch you, meat bun.
The last chapter of this book is what put me in tears, and it scared the crap out of you. Yeah, so the last chapter is Moshi just like stomping out of the cave. He's gonna try to distract the Bat Queen or something so that they can get help. Gumong's like, I'll follow him. You can't just be like separating, so I'll do it. And Moshi is just walking very quickly, on the verge of a breakdown. But Gumong's there, and they have this conversation that broke my heart. It's bad.
Okay.
It's so good, though. I'm gonna read it.
Okay.
Gumong, swallowing hard, he sighed. It's been 17 years. Gumong was taken aback. What? From the time you helped me complete my first assignment at the academy, I've known you for 17 years. From my youth to my coming of age, from the classroom to the battlefield, you said you'd always stay with me. You said you'd always be at my side, for richer or poorer. You once said you loved me. He doesn't say that part out loud. He can't get it out of his mouth. But how could Moshi speak those words now? They stuck in his throat, choking him with their bloodied sweetness. He closed his eyes, forcing down the quaver in his voice. He heaved a sigh, but his voice still shook as he spoke. Once upon a time, you taught me many things. You taught me to endure in silence. You taught me magic. You taught me the ways of the world. And you taught me the meaning of romance. Now you want me to stop clinging to you. Okay, I'll do my best, he said. But before that, Gu Shisheng, I ask you to teach me one last thing. It's been 17 years, half our lives so far. Teach me how to let go.
Oh.
That's the part that made me cry. Like, teach me how to let go. Like, you've read through this whole volume and you've seen how Moshi can't let go. It's so sad. It's so sad.
It is.
Because he's in so much pain. If he could let go, he would. And Gumong is being so cruel to him. Like, I mean, obviously he has his reasons. He's not a bad person, but you're being pushed away by the person you love.
when you know they're in pain and they won't let you help it. Like, that kind of suffering that Moshi is going through is so rough. Oh my god. Whew. But we'll keep going. Okay. Gumong said nothing. Moshi's eyes flew open as he jabbed at his own heart. Can you teach me how to feel at ease? His fingertips trembled faintly and his eyes were red. How do I lose 2 souls? Can mine be missing instead? I still have my memory in my mind. I can't let go. I knew I couldn't change a thing upon traveling 8 years into the past, but I still wanted to ask you not to defect. I still hoped for you to stay, even if you think it's all useless. Moshi. What cross over the abyss of suffering? Chase no more of the past. Those are song lyrics that he sang. I've lived in the past for 8 years. Since the day you left, I've lived 8 years in the past. I wished so badly for you to recover your memories, but now that you've recovered them, you tell me you've let go? Gumong, Gu Shisheng, in those 17 years, what was I in your heart?
Oh.
Those are the last words he can choke out before he starts crying and sobbing in front of him, even though he knows that it's not safe to cry in front of this person. This person is mocking him and is no longer the person he loves, seemingly, but he can't help it. He can't hold back anymore, and he walks away as quickly as he can. And then they find the Bat Queen, and that's where the book ends.
No.
Yeah, they're it's like they just like hear her voice and they walk into, like, they sneak into a clearing and they see her, and it's like we don't get to see what she looks like. It's just like gasp, and they're just like, and then they just kind of give each other a look like, I guess we'll shelve this emotionally traumatizing conversation for later because now we have to fight something.
We really don't see if that speech really affected him in any way.
What a cliffhanger.
It's a huge cliffhanger. I'm like, I mean, I've been intrigued. Like, the first couple volumes had me intrigued about their relationship, and I really was invested in Moshi's deep pining feelings, and, like, what happened to Gumong was really extreme and interesting. But now, like, I mean, I've been waiting for Gumong to, like, return enough to his senses for them to confront these past feelings that they held for each other.
Yeah.
And to really get at the meat of their relationship. And now we're finally here at the angstiest point possible. And there's still a Bat Queen to fight or something, but I really feel like it's gonna heat up, like, instantly from here. It's gonna be so juicy and angsty and everything.
Wow.
I am so hooked at this point. I have to know what happens next. I have to know what happens to them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I just, like, that conversation to end on. But also, though, like, Gumong does care about him. It feels like he's lashing out because, I mean, he always had the insecurity that he wasn't good enough for Moshi and that Moshi would be the one to leave him and move on and, you know, do everything society expected of him. And Gumong would not be a part of that future. So now that Gumong is fully aware that he is a traitor who should not even be alive at the moment, that's not going to change anything. That makes everything worse. So, of course, to protect Moshi, it feels like part of this is to create a separation between them because a lot of people already suspect that Moshi is shielding Gumong from harm and danger and that he should be suspected for that. So I think that's something Gumong is aware of. There is something that Gumong says and hears that really implies that he still loves Moshi. If you're interested in hearing it, or I could keep it secret.
Of course.
Okay. One of the mean things he says to Moshi is like, "Oh, you're so pretty, but you have such a bad personality. Like, no wonder, like, you're gonna be forever alone. No one would ever love you." Like, just shit like that. Like, you're not even married yet. That's so embarrassing. Hurry up and get married. Oh, you can't. No one loves you. Like, that kind of thing. Like, bro, why are you obsessing over him getting married so much? Jung Yashui pipes up and says, "Oh, actually, it's not because no one loves him. It's because Princess Mengja is, like, so sickly still, and he's just being a gentleman and waiting for her to be well enough to get married."
Ooh.
Which is not true, but it's a popular rumor.
Uh-huh.
And upon hearing that, Gumong kind of shuts up.
Whoa.
But he seems relieved by that almost. It's like he was I'm reading into it, but it's like he was afraid that he was holding Moshi back, that what they had was holding him back from happiness.
This guy fucked up your life.
Yeah. And so hearing that he did have some sort of something good waiting for him seems to be a relief. And after that, like, you know, it comes up quickly, like, oh, how can we trust you, Gumang?
And he's like, oh, I'll make this oath to you all. And it's very much, I think, connected to how he still loves Moshi. I'm gonna go over it. It's very interesting. But I really didn't lie to you. I only remembered disjointed fragments from those 5 years in the Lao Kingdom. He paused. If you don't believe me, I'll swear an oath here and now. He raised a hand and said solemnly, if I, Gumang, speak a single false word, let me live and die alone, shunned by men and women alike, while the person I love marries and finds happiness with someone else. Let me die of jealousy. He says this right after someone informs him that he's basically engaged to the princess. So he's like, oh, okay. And then 5 minutes later, he's like, guess I'll die of jealousy while someone I love marries someone else. Like, he says it so flippantly that no one takes him seriously when he says this.
Yeah.
But it pretty much says it all, I think. So there's hope. There's definitely hope. It's just very painful.
I'm very intrigued to see what Gumang saw on the mountain.
Yes.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you so much, Stitch, for another incredible Danmei book review. Be sure to check out some of our other Danmei book reviews. We've done all of the 7 Seas books so far. And if you guys really like our videos and you'd like to help support my channel, you can come hang out with Stitch and I every Friday at 7 p.m. PST if you join my YouTube membership. We do weekly members-only live streams where we hang out. Currently, we're watching Scum Villain together, and afterwards we play games like Gartic Phone. It's a ton of fun, and it's a great way to support my channel. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!